Hi everyone! Today we're going to talk a little bit about intelligence tests and standardized tests, something which I think everyone is probably familiar with. Hopefully this video will change the way you think about human intelligence and your own ability to learn and function in society. The question I'm going to be talking about today is, what do IQ tests really measure? IQ tests and standardized tests are pretty common ways to assess people's aptitude or quote-unquote intelligence. But do IQ tests really measure intelligence? The evidence suggests otherwise, and that's what I'm going to be going over today. However, there's so much weight placed on the value of IQ tests in schools, courts, militaries, and other places. Below are the reasons why IQ tests are not actually good quantifiers of human intelligence. Number one, human intelligence is varied and immeasurable. Howard Gardner's theory of multiple intelligences argues that there are 8 intelligences which people may display in varying degrees. For example, a person could be spatially, quote-unquote, intelligent, but not perform well in activities which need musical, quote-unquote, intelligence or kinesthetic, quote-unquote, intelligence. Although his theory is debated, it highlights the limitations in testing human intelligence. Abilities such as interpersonal skills, intrapersonal intelligence, or emotional intelligence are not easily quantified in numbers, which is the basic way of measuring most IQ test measures. They use numbers. They try to, take what's going on in the mind and it's translated into a number. Number 2, IQ tests are arbitrary and they reflect cultural bias. So what does this mean that they're arbitrary? Well, the modern intelligence tests originated from the Binet-Simon test, which was developed in the early 1900s to measure mental retardation of French schoolchildren. The test was then adapted and used to test intelligence in American schoolchildren for most of the 20th century. However, test takers from a different cultural background are likely going to be at a disadvantage when taking the same intelligence tests produced by, say, American test developers. Their scores might be lower. Does this mean that they're less intelligent? No. It only means that the test favors a particular type of knowledge within a particular context. And this type of knowledge, you also have to remember that who designs these tests? People that have probably already performed well in academic contexts. Okay, so the statisticians, or not just anyone can design an intelligence test that's implemented, across the whole school system, right? These people probably, there's probably exceptions, but they probably have, degrees, PhDs, right? So they've shown that they already have succeeded within this particular system of knowledge, right? So it's also in their interest to perpetuate this same favoring of this type of knowledge or thinking, right? Because it perpetuates their power, because they are, they're kind of the kings. They're, you think of university professors or, they're kind of the kings of school system, or the top of the line. So it's in their interest to perpetuate the same kind of knowledge system. So that brings me to number 3. IQ tests do not measure actual or absolute intelligence, but instead performance on the tests relative to what other test takers. So statisticians design IQ tests and standardized tests so that 50% of the people score below average and 50% score above average. If more than 50% of the test takers consistently score above average, that means that the test is differentiating correctly, and they need to change it in order to make it harder. Okay, and the same thing if more than 50% are scoring lower than the average. So, in fact, since modern intelligence testing was developed, people in certain countries have been scoring an average of several points higher each successive generation. This is called the Flynn effect. So basically, the test, it's a relative test. The test will change depending on the population. Okay, the test is not like a standard absolute measurement, right? It's a relative measurement, and it's always going to change, not just from time to time, but also from place to place. Number 4, scholars and researchers do not have a clearly defined, agreed upon definition of intelligence. It's something which has many different definitions depending upon the field and depending upon who you ask. Across culture and time, its definition is going to change depending upon what society values. If people cannot even agree as to what intelligence is, how could they possibly even begin to measure it?